Welcome to NTD News. I'm Jasmina Davis. Here are today's top stories. President Trump hitting the campaign trail hard over the weekend. He says the pandemic is rounding the turn despite the high number of new cases. He warned against a sustained lockdown, saying it reduces life expectancy among Americans. Democratic candidate Joe Biden fired back at questions over his son Hunter Biden's business dealings. He says he's the one running against the president, adding the American people don't want to hear about his family. The Senate advances Judge Amy Coney Barrett's nomination. It looks like Republicans will have enough votes to confirm her. Locals are lining up in New York City and Los Angeles, in some of the city's most famous venues. That's as early voting begins there and they begin to cast their ballots. President Trump packed the weekend full of campaign rallies as he focused on gaining electoral votes. He found the time to sign pumpkins for supporters during a stop in the Northeast.
President Trump on Sunday met with supporters at Cherokee Orchards on a farm in the northeastern state of Maine. It's where he hopes to win one or more of the state's 4 electoral votes. The president signed off hats, pumpkins, and spoke with cheering supporters.
It'll be on eBay tonight.
The day before, he held 3 large rallies in North Carolina, Ohio, and Wisconsin. Also on Sunday, he rallied crowds in New Hampshire. Speaking of his numerous campaign rallies over the weekend, he said, "There's a lot of love here. It's easy when there's a lot of love." He added, "I don't mind doing it." He assured the airport crowd that the pandemic was rounding the turn and the vaccines in development will help the return to normal life.
We're not locking down. We understand the disease. We're going to take such, and we've been taking care of our elderly, especially with heart or diabetes problems. And we're going to take care of it, and we're going to be careful, and we're going to be vigilant.
He continued with a warning over the potential problems of a sustained lockdown.
Desperately hurt our small businesses, inflict lasting harm on our children, and massively reduce life expectancy for the American people, life expectancy.
He reasserted a statement he's made previously, that the cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. The president's remarks came as the United States on Sunday marked a daily high in confirmed cases of COVID-19, the disease caused by the CCP virus, but no major change in the number of deaths.
Trump stopped by North Carolina again on his way to Ohio and Wisconsin this weekend. He says he went there to show his support for the Indian Lumbee tribe. NTD's Melania was at the North Carolina rally.
On his campaign trail over the weekend, Trump made a quick stop by Lumberton, North Carolina. He says he specifically went there to show his support for the Lumbee tribe, a Native American group that's been pushing for full federal recognition since 1888.
And we're putting America, and I love the sound of that drum. That sounds... That's why I'm here, these people, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here for these people, right? You didn't think I'd come, did you, huh? They didn't think, because they haven't been treated well for a long time, right?
Trump announced at his rally that if re-elected, he would sign the Lumbee Recognition Act. This is the second time he's visited North Carolina over the past week. Some of these Trump supporters out here who are still flowing in, they've been coming in for over an hour. Some of them told us something interesting. A handful of them said they couldn't speak on camera about their support for Trump for fear of their workplace finding out. Others who would speak on camera told us why they think this election is more important than the last.
We're in the fight of the good versus evil, the being pro-nation versus being more globalist. And you can see the attack on the nationalism, the attack on Christians and our religious freedom. So it is very important that we will vote for Trump.
And in this day and age, especially if that communism stuff comes over here, look what they're doing in California. They're banning churches. They're arresting pastors who are trying to have service. Okay, it's coming here.
Constitutional rights. I believe in free speech, the right to bear arms. And I believe those are things that could possibly be infringed with a Biden presidency.
A couple of teachers told us they've seen too much politics in the classroom, and they'd like to see the parents have more control over shaping children's perspectives.
let's go ahead and have the government tell your kids what they're supposed to believe. Or we can just have a difference of opinion and a sharing of an opinion where different parents feel different ways and different children grow up believing different things based on what their parents have taught them. So
the state now has a Democratic governor. And along with the presidential election, North Carolina is having its gubernatorial election this year. Reporting from North Carolina, Melania Weisskopf, NTD News.
President Trump and First Lady Melania hosted families for a Halloween event Sunday. They were in the spotlight until their miniature lookalikes came along and stole the show. The young girl and boy posed for photos in front of the Trumps. As you can see, the boy had Trump's signature hairstyle, along with a dark suit and red tie, perfectly matching what the president was wearing. And the little girl wore an off-the-shoulder white dress. It looked a lot like the gown the First Lady wore during Trump's inaugural ball in 2017. Democratic candidate Joe Biden took to the stage in Bristol, Pennsylvania. He spoke about his father's and grandfather's backgrounds linked to the state. He said his father taught him that a job is about more than a paycheck. He said it's about dignity and respect.
Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden turned his attention to Pennsylvania on Saturday. He held drive-in rallies in Bristol, north of Philadelphia, accompanied by his wife, Dr. Jill Biden.
We have 10 days left. It may come down to Pennsylvania. And I believe in you. I believe in my state.
Speaking to left-wing podcast Pod Save America over the weekend, Biden said he thinks it's crass to go after his son, Hunter. He's referring to several explosive reports that came out in recent weeks. He said he's very proud of his family and that the American people don't want to hear about his family or Trump's family.
My dad was not a coal miner. My great-grandpop was a mining engineer and a state senator from Pennsylvania.
The report suggests that Biden's son, Hunter, leveraged his father's powerful position as vice president to strike deals with companies in China and Ukraine. Biden denies the claims. His campaign hasn't disputed the authenticity of the emails or photos found on what is supposedly Hunter Biden's laptop. The ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, Representative Jim Jordan, said his staff independently authenticated materials from the laptop hard drive. Jordan told Fox News over the weekend that it's not Russian disinformation. He said the emails are real.
White House National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien says Russian hackers can't change votes in the upcoming election. He also said there's nothing foreign adversaries can do to stop you from voting. Last week, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security issued a joint warning. They said Russian hackers have been targeting state and local governments, as well as aviation networks. He also said Iran has been trying to incite social unrest in the United States. Earlier this year, top officials said the biggest foreign threat to this election is the Chinese Communist Party. O'Brien said the best way for Americans to defeat their efforts is to go out and vote. The Senate advanced President Trump's newest pick for the Supreme Court in a rare weekend session. We could have a new justice before the election.
The Senate voted Sunday to limit debate on Judge Amy Coney Barrett's nomination. Debate is now limited to just 30 hours, meaning Democrats can't filibuster. All Democrats are expected to vote against Barrett's nomination. That includes Vice Presidential nominee Senator Kamala Harris.
I am voting no. I believe and have from the beginning it's an illegitimate process. There's too much at stake.
One of two Republicans who opposed pre-election confirmation now says she will vote to confirm Barrett.
I will be a yes. I have no doubt about her intellect. I have no doubt about Judge Barrett's judicial temperament. I have no doubt about her capability to do the job and to do it well.
The GOP can afford to lose up to 3 Republicans. If a 50-50 split occurs, Vice President Mike Pence can cast the tie-breaking vote. But he probably won't have to. Senator Mitt Romney has said repeatedly that he would confirm Barrett, leaving only Republican Senator Susan Collins saying she will vote no. The final vote could come as soon as Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Pennsylvania decided to accept mail-in ballots received up to 3 days after Election Day, but state Republicans are trying to change that. On October 19th, the Supreme Court voted on the Republicans' first attempt to overturn the decision. 4 judges voted in favor and 4 against, so the ruling remained. The Supreme Court has only had 8 judges since Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. Republicans want Judge Amy Coney Barrett to take her position before November 3rd. If that happens, she could vote in favor of overturning the Pennsylvania ruling, and ballots coming in after Election Day won't be accepted. Early voting has begun in New York City and Los Angeles. Some residents say they chose the early voting route because they think it's more secure, while others, it's about the location.
New Yorkers waited in long lines early on Saturday. It was the first day of early voting in the state ahead of the presidential election. Outside Madison Square Garden, voters expressed their excitement over casting their ballots. Some said they felt it was a better option than mail-in voting.
There's several days of early voting. I wanted to come on the first day, and there is something about going in person and filling it out myself and turning it in that I just feel is secure.
The state said last week that it would deploy additional police officers in case of problems at polling locations or throughout the city. Also on Saturday, Los Angeles area residents were given the opportunity to vote early in some of California's most iconic arenas. The Forum Arena in Inglewood set up voting booths inside its building, the same place where sports and music stars usually stand in the spotlight. The location inspired some locals to come out and vote, even those that didn't cast a ballot in the 2016 election, like Robert Harris.
I've actually been to games when the Lakers played here, and to get down on the floor, I never was on the floor. So to really see it from the floor and look up, it was really good.
Other venues included the Staples Center, the home of the LA Lakers, and the Hollywood Bowl, which houses plays, films, and concerts.
The Nevada Republican Party is suing election officials in the Las Vegas area. They are seeking to halt the ballot counting process until Trump campaign volunteers are allowed to closely observe the process. The lawsuit was filed against officials in Clark County, Nevada's most populous county, which includes the city of Las Vegas. According to the lawsuit, the procedures being used don't allow for proper observation of the vote counting process. Amongst other things, Republicans are worried that volunteer poll watchers can't see the monitors of individual workers or observe calls that are made when authenticating ballots. The Nevada Democratic Party said the lawsuit is an obvious attempt to halt record-breaking momentum in the county. Coming up, a new app may help travelers get around in the age of the pandemic. The app was tested on passengers on a recent flight from London to Newark. That and more after the break. Samsung Group's charismatic leader died on Sunday. The company is South Korea's biggest conglomerate.
Lee Kun-Hee, the charismatic leader of Samsung Group, died on Sunday. South Korea's biggest conglomerate said Lee died with his family by his side, including his son, Samsung Vice Chairman J.Y. Lee. The news comes 6 years after Lee was hospitalized for a heart attack. The 78-year-old helped grow his father's noodle trading business into a powerhouse of affiliates. During his lifetime, Samsung Electronics developed from a second-tier TV maker into the world's biggest technology firm by revenue. But he was also convicted of bribery and tax evasion, and his empire was criticized for wielding huge economic clout. Lee's death leaves the South Korean family-controlled conglomerate with thorny succession issues. On Sunday, Samsung Group heir J.Y. Lee arrived at the funeral hall for a memorial. He's been embroiled in legal troubles linked to a merger of 2 Samsung affiliates that helped him assume greater control of Samsung Electronics.
A new smartphone app could make it easier for international airline passengers. It helps show whether they've complied with testing requirements for the CCP virus.
At Newark Liberty International Airport, volunteers show a new app on their smartphones. Switzerland-based Commons Project Foundation has organized a trial for its new application. It's called the Common Pass Digital Health Pass. Volunteers on United Airlines Flight 15 from London's Heathrow to Newark were tested at the UK airport for the CCP virus. The results are stored on volunteers' smartphones, which are shown to officials upon arrival in the US.
And so what this is doing is making this a secure electronic mechanism so that airlines and countries can actually have confidence that people who have gotten tested actually did get tested.
The pandemic has led to a variety of travel bans, quarantines, and testing requirements. Each country has imposed its own rules. The Common Pass project aims to establish standard ways to verify lab results. J.D. O'Hara and Herman Elger were volunteer passengers testing the app during the flight from the UK to the US.
The app is very simple. QR code, name, negative test, result, and that's really it. That's simple. That much information.
Passengers can use the app to find participating labs and testing sites, retrieve lab results, and complete health forms. The app and its associated data platform can confirm their results comply with the destination's requirements. It also generates a QR code that authorities can use to confirm compliance. Scientists warn there are concerns about the accuracy of some rapid tests. People can be infectious for several days before they show symptoms, and these people may also test negative.
Coming up, a new report says the Chinese Communist Party is using Germany to control the world's future technologies. It's part of the Made in China 2025 plan. That and more after the break. Hundreds of people rallied in Taiwan's capital on Sunday. They're calling for China to release 12 Hong Kong citizens arrested at sea by mainland authorities in August. The rally is part of a global campaign to support the pro-democracy movement in the financial hub. One protester said, "Hong Kong's today is Taiwan's tomorrow, and Taiwan will become Hong Kong if we don't step forward." The 12 were arrested in August for alleged illegal entry into mainland China after setting off from Hong Kong in a boat bound for Taiwan. A new report raises the alarm over the Chinese Communist Party's strategy with Germany. It states that CCP is trying to co-opt Germany to dominate the technologies of the future. NTD's Germany correspondent Christian Watchen has the story.
A new report by the Foundation for Defense of Democracies warns that Beijing is utilizing Germany as the main springboard to dominate industrial and technological standards of the 21st century. It's part of Beijing's economic plan to become a leader in 10 tech sectors within 5 years. Made in China 2025 is part of the Chinese Communist Party's long-term plan to become the dominant world power by mid-century, replacing the U.S. For Beijing, Germany has both the technology and the willingness to cooperate to help it get there. The report states Made in China 2025 targets Germany first as a source of technology, second as a partner through which to export standards favorable to China, and third as a competitor for the lead in the current industrial revolution. The CCP usually touts win-win cooperation, but as the report points out, some German companies end up losing as China siphons off technology. For example, in 2001, Siemens entered a partnership with Shanghai Electric on gas turbines, one key technology for China. Once Shanghai Electric got what it wanted, it ended the relationship and Siemens lost out. A 2018 analysis found that the majority of Chinese mergers and acquisitions in Germany align with the key areas of MIC 2025, like electric vehicles, electrical equipment, biomedicine, and robotics. MIC 2025 also aims to upgrade the Chinese military. For the CCP, the controversial takeover of German robot manufacturer KUKA in 2016 by China's Midea Group served that goal. Now KUKA is part of several industrial parks in China, pursuing both military and civil uses. According to the report, the CCP's plan threatens beyond Germany to the rest of the Western world. It states, if left unchecked, China's strategy will undermine and produce a world hostile to the prosperity, security, and values of Germany, the United States, and their liberal democratic allies. The authors of the report give suggestions on ways to respond. They say the U.S. and Germany should join forces to define restrictions on the export of technology and on investments tailored to bids by China. and that NATO could play a new role in defending its members against economic and military encroachment by the CCP. Reporting by Christian Watchin, NTD News, Berlin.
And that's all for now. Catch us again at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Jasmina Davis.